Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Patterson, and we are here for the Real Share Daily Huddle. And today is very special, besides the fact that I'm still beaming off of Love Fest 2020. Talk about just this over the top 50th birthday. And I had someone say to me today, they said, you know what? Gosh, I mean, that was like 18 hours that you went and you had this live stream. And we had over 4,000 people tune in, which was awesome. And it was an opportunity for me to share back the people that I have hung out with. When you're told that you have a period of time, a 90-day period of time, and of course, the mindset was absolutely not, but you really get particular about the people that you hang out with and the families that you do life with. And so for today, I'm so excited because I am introducing you to somebody that I had the opportunity to hang out with his family. You all had a chance to meet his mom, Dr. Keisha. I call her my breast friend because we both have gone through cancer. We coined it. She had said to me, she goes, "You're my breast friend." And I've really learned so much from her. And I feel like us coming together as these divine warrior goddesses have really just lifted me up and our families as well. So I'm introducing to you Collin, who is her oldest. So this is Collin Morris, and he's got the most incredible background as well. And when we had a chance to meet, so Collin, I'm going to share a little bit about your background so that the community that I serve can really get to know you. And then I'm going to talk about how we got to know each other and what we went through last summer, which was really life-changing.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Beautiful.
Wasn't it? It was amazing. So here goes. So Collin worked as a professional actor in New York for many years, which, by the way, the most feedback I've gotten is from folks from New York that are following our community and reaching back out. And I'm asking them, where are you reached out from? And it's New York. So it's interesting that individuals are reaching out for healthy options and what's available on the planet, and it's coming from New York. He was trained as a yoga teacher in India. I want to talk about that. Studied meditation at a Zen monastery, certified as a group facilitator with Pacific Integral, and currently works as an executive coach and psychedelic guide with a focus on movement, presence, and embodiment. He is the founder of Movement Warrior. Okay, can we just take pause on that name?
We can.
That's like a bitchin' name.
Yeah, what do you think? What does it evoke for you?
Oh, it what it does is it makes me feel like it's relatable. I'm a warrior, and I am doing a movement, and it makes me want to find out more about it and be a part of it. Yeah, that's excellent. So as the founder of Movement Warrior, and I want to talk more about that. It's an online school for embodied living where we're developing courses ranging from the fundamentals of dance, emotional processing, and embodied sexuality. He believes in the power of movement to help expand perception, solve intractable problems, process and digest emotions, and attune and collaborate well with others. He also runs a podcast on the future of humanity called Zion 2.0. There's so much here. There's a lot of juicy stuff in here. And what I want to start out with is how you and I ended up meeting. And I think I met you at your mom's house.
Mm-hmm.
And you flew in. It was 4th of July.
Yep.
Or did I meet you before?
We had met in a different context before, but this was when we really got to know each other, because you and my mom had connected, and we were doing a family retreat over the 4th of July weekend that was going to be all around death and dying. That was just sort of the context or container with which we were having this completely normal family gathering.
And then you have this breast friend as your
Yeah.
mom refers to me, Dr. Keisha refers to me, her breast friend coming in who had been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And the whole thing was on death and dying. And it truly was beautifully, divinely guided, because during that time that I was there, I witnessed the most beautiful funeral that I've ever been to. And it was for your 4-legged friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our family dog, Sophie, just happened to die that weekend. So we got to bury our family dog and then launch into 3 days of deep work around death and dying, and really coming to terms with it. I can just say one thing that's coming up about that retreat. One exercise that we did, which was writing your obituary. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah. I mean,
So
I
you
cried
write
a lot during that time.
So so you're writing as if you're gone, and so you're writing down the themes that came up throughout your life, what your life's work was, how you want to be remembered, and then you would read it out loud to everyone and just sort of hear basically how you think and feel about yourself in this current moment is received by other people. And some of it was like, oh yeah, like that's exactly how we see you. And then other times when people were writing with more of kind of a limiting frame, self-critical, just, we all do this, like where we're hard on ourselves and it shows up in the way that we speak about ourselves. It was a good opportunity to get that reflection back from other people. That's just like, just so you know, like we don't see you that way. So it's a good way to just sort of like compare your version of yourself to how other people are receiving you. So that was one of my favorite parts of that.
Well, and I also love that part. And it was really neat for me to just experience this with your family and with your
Mm-hmm.
sisters and your brother and, friends of the family that came in. It was emotional.
Yeah. So where were you in your own process? Because there were so many ups and downs last year. Do you remember like what kind of the state of your being was during that weekend?
Had we already taken the Vision Quest where my son and
Yes.
we'd already done the Vision Quest?
Yes.
And that was after. Okay. So I was diagnosed April 15th and I had done the Vision Quest. So I was not too many months into the diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that your mom was really working with me on is, just really being able to express, just my emotions, and not skirt it, is just really to talk about, if, mm-hmm. God, what if, this was going to be my last year, and what are the things that I want to really communicate and share. And I feel like because of that experience, when I came home, I was able to have some really, really powerful conversations with my family. Just what it meant for me and the relationship that I have, and maybe just some conversation that was unfinished. That I had the strength and the courage to do, because I watched your family really just share. I mean, do you guys experience that? Because I know, and my kids get asked this all the time, is, gosh, your mom is, she's taking you off, you're speaking at the you're with her when she's speaking at the UN, or she's doing all these different things, but to be raised with, an individual whose genius is helping individuals heal, and to just see her want to give her gift to her family.
Mm-hmm.
Like we share it with so many that are out there, that oftentimes our family misses that genius in us. And I just saw your mom, what she was sharing. I mean, it not only helped me, but I feel like, the entire family, I mean, just really rallied. I mean, it truly was the most beautiful funeral that I've ever been to. And it was for Sophie, your 4-legged family member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But is
Yeah.
this
I'll say,
time? Is this something annually? Is this, had you done this before?
um, I mean, my mom's always been great um, at organizing events like this that are designed for uh, deepening our capacity as a family to relate well to each other and create a cohesive unit. This was the first one we'd done specifically around death, because she had been she was in a training program. It was a death doula program, and a lot of her work was focusing on how to relate to death and how to communicate it to people. But one thing I'll say about her is that I really appreciate about my mom is sometimes, I mean, a lot of times everyone knows this because everyone has some type of family, whether it's your biological family or your chosen family. But specifically with your biological family, sometimes you'll be put in a certain context where someone says a thing that triggers you and suddenly you're like 12 years old again because you have all of these memories of relating with these people as a child. And one thing that my mom has done a really good job with is helping me relate to her, not just as my mom. Like I'm not just her son. She's inspired me and my siblings to see beyond that, the sort of potentially limiting nature of that relationship, and think about like what the bigger picture is. Like how can we be of service, and what is our work in the world? And she models that. So it's like an invitation to step into that own expression or own power that we all have.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, even as her friend and as her best friend, breast friend, I mean, she really challenges you to, um, not be defined by a role. Like I could see how you having a conversation with your mom versus having a conversation with, a doctor who specializes in this human behavior and has so much wisdom.
Mm.
Is you could block yourself off from that feedback, and I saw that when we were together. I mean, at one point it was like, should I be taking notes, because there's just so much information that she
Mm.
shared. And I love the way she really creates that space for you to speak your truth and to really uncover what is that passion, what's that driving force, and to uncover, is it coming from the 12-year-old, or is it truly coming from your essence of like what's really guiding you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 It's amazing. She's
Big.
amazing. She's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And but she pushes the envelope, and very lovingly, but
Mm.
also pushes the envelope, which for somebody who is stretching and growing, it can be challenging. But I think because she loves so deeply, that she stays in the ring and she stays there and she holds you through it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to
Yeah.
you want to push back. You want to be like, okay, no, you don't. I mean, you want to just to deflect,
Yeah.
because she's hitting it head on.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. I remember. I'm reminded now of that vision quest that we did go on. I was flying into. It was in Colorado. We were all flying from different places, and we met at the Denver airport. And just the day before, I had broken up with my girlfriend, and this was like a deep relationship that we had been friends for like 10 years beforehand, and we had taken this risk and decided to pursue a romantic relationship, and it just like it tanked, and it ruined our relationship. It was like 10 years of friendship just like gone. And I remember coming into the airport. We're about to go on this 3-day vision quest up in the mountains with no food or water, and I was just a wreck. I was just like a shell of myself. I was so depressed. I was so sad. And Yeah, I appreciated the space that I got just to be in that. Like no one was trying to make me like behave any differently, or it was just like freedom to like feel that
Yeah.
despair, you know.
Well, when I met you at the airport and your mom had just said, "Hey, he's got, there's been some stuff going on," and you were visibly rocked,
Hmm.
visibly rocked. I mean, I could tell it was just this beloved best friend girl,
Hmm.
and and that's tough. It's very tough. You were like a completely different person though. At the end of the Vision Quest, I went over and I'm like introducing myself. It's like, hello. And we had been talking and everything. You were just, it was like the world had lifted off your shoulders. And I just saw this massive transformation in you owning your shit, owning everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched you just step into this courageous, um, like not wanting to settle for anything. That's what I got. It was like, you know what? I'm going to go through the pain, but I am not going to settle for optimal. And you heard me, you actually paid me a really beautiful compliment because you had already met my husband.
Hmm.
You'd already met Eric, and you said something like, I want that relationship. I want what you guys have.
Hmm.
And that made me feel really good. It was like, you know what, hang in there, stay with it, go through that pain, because there's so much development and learning in that process, which we learned from your mom and talking about fear and death and going through that. But you were a different person afterwards. And I believe it's because you went through that process of really loving on yourself and saying, you know what, I want more for me.
Hmm.
I want to live the best life I possibly could live, and I'm not settling. I'm actually going inward and looking at what is it that lights me up.
Mm. Yeah, and I love that you said that. There was like, I'm remembering now that there was some critical information that I received during that vision quest that was, it felt so simple at the time, and it was the thing that sort of pulled me out of that really dark space. Was music. I started hearing music in my head and started dancing, and that was the thing. It was the movement of my body. It was like coming back into my body. And when I'll speak for myself, like when I'm depressed, my my sense of self is so constrained. It's like a tiny little spot like behind my eyes, and it's stuck in the analytical brain, the brain that is just full of stories and beliefs and um, basically like codes that are written that feel intractable, that feel like this is who I am, this is what I am, and I'm stuck here. It's like I can't. This is what it is. Like this is my life now, and hearing music and reconnecting with my body and feeling that just inspiration to move has become this really potent metaphor for me and for my work now, which is like movement is the actual act of going from one space into another.
Energetically, I mean, are you
Energetically, yeah. Energetically, physically, yeah. Like you start in one space, you might be feeling a certain way. Your body might be feeling a certain way. Maybe you just woke up and you're tight and you're sore. And when you go through this experience of moving in an intentional way, you start to notice that your heart rate changes. Like your breath starts to pick up. Your emotional state actually starts to open and shift and change. And it's like the felt experience that change is not only possible, but it's inevitable, right? And that you can take some sovereignty, you can take some ownership of the change that happens in your life.
Amen, brother. I witnessed it. I saw it firsthand. I mean, call it the summer of 2019, where you just really stepped into owning who you are. And I think you fell in love with yourself. I mean, without sounding, cliche and corny and but I've really watched you just step into what lights you up and who you are. And you talked about music. And I know with your background in theater, I mean, I feel like you found yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It was a complete shift in how you were 3 days later. And up on that mountain, I think that you really found your essence of who it is that you want to be and show up as.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
And it's, yeah. And it's amazing that those opportunities are there always. There's always an opportunity to fall back in love with yourself, and maybe in a deeper way than the last time.
and keep moving that just keep moving that ball forward. And one of the things that your mom and I have talked about, and I expressed to her, and I had heard this from another person, Christine, and she said, trauma is blocked imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times to go through an experience and to be able to come out on the other side and feel this just love for yourself because you didn't give up, you didn't settle, you said, you know what, I want more. And I'm not willing to be in a relationship where I don't see this as, this is my life partner.
Mm-hmm.
I really applaud you because it's so easy to settle, especially when you don't want to hurt someone's feelings and you don't want to. But what happens is we're not sticking up for ourselves. We're not being our best advocate. We're not being our best friend. And you can't have total love for yourself if you're not willing to love yourself 100%. You can't love others if you're not willing to love 100%. And so if you're only loving at 60%, then nobody can come in and surpass that. They can't come in and love you at 75 if you're not actually loving yourself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's do you feel this, that the energy of giving and receiving, it's actually the same vibration, it's the same type of energy? And like when you feel like sometimes where you like might be a little contracted and someone pays you a compliment or loves on you in some way, and it just like doesn't hit, you don't quite like really feel it because you have this block up. It's like you're blocking the energy of receiving, and then that same block is going to affect your ability to give too. So the more that you're able to receive love from people and say like, yes, like I am this, like, thank you so much, like, thank you for seeing this in me, you're able to just like send it right back out. It's just this like beautiful love feedback loop.
It's almost, I think that this is definitely going to be one of those podcasts where I'm going to want to come back to, because you can start taking notes of just, it's a skill set, and it's like a muscle that you're consistently exercising, but it's this ability to, each day, just check back in and see if that energy flow is really happening. Mm-hmm. Because I, for many, many years, was very focused on, again, this people pleaser, mindset. And then the family that was closest to me, they got the last bit of me. And it wasn't until I started really taking pause and saying, okay, how is this really what I want to be doing? Or am I doing this because I don't want to offend somebody, or I want to make sure, that they're taken care of, versus really speaking up and speaking my truth. And I think that the just the education and, doing exercises like we did, through the Vision Quest, or exercises like we did when we were at your home in San Juan Island and your mom led, a fear and death. I mean, we don't ever talk about these things. And it's something that all of us are going to go through, whether it's, death and taxes. What do they say? You can count on taxes. And this is something in death, is that all of us are going to have to go through. And so to be able to have these conversations and talk about any unfinished conversation, just to really get complete. But what I found was it really strengthened my relationships, and it made it so that, that trauma didn't have to, be the end result. I could work through that trauma to come out, what I envisioned and what I wanted to have happen.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. And this actually reminds me of a conversation I was having with my roommate this morning. He was doing some reflecting on priorities, and how your priorities can be so different depending on what lens or what perspective you're approaching them from. And the soul's priorities, or your heart's priorities, are going to be very different than like your rational mind's priorities. The part of you that knows business needs to get done, and I can't pay attention to this thing over here because I have clients, and I have these things that need to happen in order for me to feel comfortable or secure. But the heart's priorities, the top priority might be reach out to that friend who you haven't spoken to in 2 years, who there's some unfinished business. There's some energy that's like stuck, and you don't want to pay attention to it because it's uncomfortable and you have stuff to do. You're busy. But the heart's priorities are different. So being able to toggle back and forth between just sort of that understanding of what matters and where it's coming from.
I think you're on to really this process of being able to connect with all of you, because I do feel like we've gone in and separated, mind, body, soul, spirit. I think that's why I ended up not really listening to my body when my body felt like, hey, we need a break. We need a break. You just got done putting on a massive event, a massive conference, take a break. And I did. I kept going, and I kept lying to my body, and I kept saying, you know what, catch up. This will happen. And I really think that when the heart and the mind, your body, soul are not all operating consistently together, then that's when things start to go a little haywire. And we don't really leverage off of our genius, in that time. And we actually self-sabotage what we want to have, created. And so I think you are hitting it right head on. And that is, not looking away from the desires of the heart, and really what lights you up, because we get very pragmatic and think, okay, if it's related to money, I need to make money. And I know a lot of people, myself included, who took jobs that didn't fill me up, that detracted me. I got done this morning with a call, and I was able to tell somebody that, what, this right now is not what I want to be working on. I don't want to be putting energy into this. And let's go ahead and revisit this in maybe, the next, 4 or 5 months. But right now, this is not where I want to put my energy.
How did the person receive that?
Not well. Not well, but I'm okay with that. And whereas in the past I would not have been, it would have bothered me to the point where I never even would have brought it up. Yeah. And I feel like, I am sticking up for myself and saying, what I need, because I want them to do the same thing. I want them to do the same thing. If I'm not a fit, at this particular time, I don't want them to go along. One of the places I learned this, and my girlfriend, I bring this up a lot because I think it was such a great example, but my girlfriend, Sherry Jeffries, we were hanging out at our friend's house, and it was a long day. I was tired. We got in the car. She was supposed to come over. We were supposed to hang out. And I said to her on the way home, I just said, can you just drop me off and have me stay home because I'm just tired? And she looks at me and she goes, that's the nicest thing that you've said to me. What? Because yeah, we've known each other for 25 years. She goes, that's the nicest thing you've said to me, because normally I would just go along with things and I wouldn't say how I really, really felt. And when you go through a diagnosis and you have that truth serum where You're just not willing to settle at all. And you want to have the conversations that are people that are trusted advisors. You don't want to shortchange the authentic, conversation, for anything. And it felt really good because she wanted to, get me what I needed. And I wanted to be honest and say, hey, this is what I need. And if we do more of that, then what happens is we absolutely can crowdsource miracles. When we come together and we start saying, okay, I'm not afraid to show up in my genius and my essence. And I'm okay with saying, you know what, your genius and your essence, let's go ahead and have them complement each other. Let's not have it be this competitive. There is no competition. And last time I checked, it's not feasible for us to be everything to everybody. It really isn't. Nor do we want to. It's simply not fun. And what I'm finding in this work that I'm doing with the Real Share is that I'm able to pull together this wellness team family, let those individuals do their genius, stay in their lane, do their God-given talent. I mean, really, really just light up. And when they're doing it, they know they're doing it because everything is connected. Heart is connected, mind, body, soul, spirit is connected. And then things, Collin, I'm telling you, what I've been experiencing, things get so much easier. It's so much easier to focus on pleasing and figuring out what your path is and your mission, and then connect with people and be present and authentic into that space, because then we can show up and be spokes of the wheel and help each other.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that so much. Just yesterday actually. So I've been trying to launch this new brand, and I've been doing everything myself. Like I have been editing my website, trying to play around in Photoshop and get really good at Photoshop in order to make it look good. I've been trying to design course content. I've been juggling my one-on-one clients, and the roommate who I have who lives across the hall from me is a branding website wizard. This is what he does. And in my mind, I was like, I can't afford it. I can't, I'm trying to bootstrap this thing. I'm just trying to get, I can't afford to pay this right now. But he and I just connected yesterday and struck this amazing deal. And now I have all this space opening up. I have this amazing roommate now who is going to be able to do the things that I'm not very good at. So I can focus on the designing the content. Yeah. So good.
And that, to me, that's what's happening right now. And I can feel it energetically and we just got done doing this. We put together this wellness team family. We had Love Fest. I mean, it truly was this Love Fest where people showed up. I was able to celebrate the individuals that have come into my life to guide me, your mom being one of them. And to share, it's like the days of having a doctor to help guide this process is over. You really need to have this team approach where you can bring individuals in and then they can share with you their feedback, their trusted information, but you are owning your wellness. You are getting to decide on what pieces you want to bring in. And your mother said this on the show, you are fixing you. Somebody's not coming in and fixing you. The art of taking care of you is that when you do fall in love with yourself. And so I love this because this is what it's all about. The more that we can get Collin Morris into his genius and doing what you do, the more that you're able to share with the world you.
Amen.
Amen to that. And think about it. It's like we bring your roommate in. I mean, you start bringing, I need a branding website wizard.
Let me give you his info. He is incredible.
So that's what we're doing though, is getting in this partner program, because what's happening, I feel, and I would love your opinion on this, is we are going through a period of time where we truly are being called to show up with our gifts and stay in that lane of doing this genius and then truly collaborate. where we are spokes of a wheel that are coming together, because it's again, it's not possible. I could not have done Love Fest if it wasn't for the fact that I had individuals show up and put this massive event. We had 4,000 in attendance on a live stream, something
amazing
that had never taken place. It was the first time doing it. Granted, it was my 50th birthday.
Hey, happy belated birthday. That's amazing.
Isn't that awesome? I'm rolling into 50.
50. Oh, 50 never looks so good.
Oh, in fact, I'm doing a little J-Lo action, with my earrings and.
Yes. Yes. That's so funny. When you popped on, I was like, oh man, the eyelashes is on point again. Of course.
I think I cried so hard at your house that I cried my lashes off my face. Or when we went to the Vision Quest. So tell our community, which you're a part of. You're a part of this Real Share community, because it's about us coming together. No judgment, no shaming, no stigmas, but just saying, hey, this is what I did. This is my genius. These are the things that I need. This is what I could use help with. And then again, we're comparing these notes. So I love to hear, like, I'm giving you a megaphone right now and you're sharing with this community. It's like, okay, this is my genius. What is that? Because I'm so excited because I know your heart and I know your mom. So I know her heart, which she's got one of the biggest hearts I've ever met, and your whole family does. But what's your genius? Like when you're doing this, it lights you up, and you are of service, and you're giving back, and it really fills you up.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for giving me the megaphone. I appreciate that. My genius, I have been learning. It's taken me a while to really lean into it, but I get so much satisfaction and life force by connecting with my body and helping other people find that power within themselves as well. So there's amazing research being done right now about embodied and embedded cognition. So the embodied piece turns out we aren't just floating heads. Our bodies don't just like walk around a floating brain where all the processing takes place. We're a complex system, and all of our processing capacity is distributed throughout our whole system. Emotions get stored in the body. Trauma gets stuck in the body. And when you don't have a positive feedback loop, a working relationship with your own body, you lose information and you start to ignore it. And so what I've been doing is designing different practices based in movement to help people feel that power again. Because power really it's about information, and it's about knowing what information is relevant to a particular context. So the way that you show up in a boardroom meeting is going to be different than the way you show up in an intimate relationship with people. So a lot of people I work with are these like high-powered executive types who by all standards are successful beyond imagination. And they're a disaster in other areas. They're totally disconnected from their body. They don't know how to emotions. They don't know how to handle them. Their intimate partnerships are on the rocks. So it's about knowing in what context to show up and in what capacity. And so a lot of what this is doing is helping relax the part of yourself that's on all the time, which our society prioritizes the mind. You can write really amazing code all day if your cognition is very hyper-focused and you're not paying attention to the rest of your system. But in the rest of your life, you need to be tuned into your body. You just have to be.
Well, or you wake up, and let's talk about it. You wake up with a diagnosis. You wake up, and again, we're talking about energy. and
Mm-hmm.
trapped energy, and trauma is trapped energy. And I believe that wholeheartedly. That's why when you talk about dance and you talk about really loosening up, I think, how does somebody get started? And first of all, too, and we'll make sure that we have contact information. But I think I love the example that you gave too of just somebody in corporate America, because we do stuff so much that we don't let this emotion out, and a lot of it is all fear based,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you have that flight and fright mentality, and that's what's happening inside your body. And I had it happening, for the majority of my life. Didn't even know that I was doing it because I was so conditioned to playing out that program over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you tell somebody to get started? I mean, what are some things that somebody can do to really start getting in touch with their body,
Yeah.
and working with energy, and working with, and I'd love to have you on, Collin, and help us through some guided just process overall. And it's interesting because I was on the phone earlier with Jack Canfield, and I had him on. He's 500 million copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, he's sold. I mean, this guy is so passionate, and we're doing a huge project right now together, which I absolutely want to share with you and have you be a part of. But his expertise in talking about, creating your reality and co-creating, and his genius, and what you started talking about, I think is so much what people need to hear about. And that's, nobody's talking about that. I mean, I've been interviewing, we're on season 2, and you're the first person to bring up dance and energy. We've talked about sound, but I think there's so much of an opportunity to really look at these healthy options that are available out there that we can use in our own homes to really get in touch with any healing modalities that our bodies are responding to. So do you tell me some things that we can do right now that just get us going with this?
Yeah. I mean, a really, really simple place to start is first playing with your breath. So you can start off just watching. You can breathe at a normal pace, and you can just pay attention to the inhale and the exhale. And then what I have people do is start to bring your attention from the breath and let it settle on a part of your body that might be holding tension. And usually it's a place, for some people, it's a place that historically holds tension. For me, it's my hips, always. My hips are just really tight. And so my attention will wander to my hips, and then you start to notice what voices come up in your head. Damn, my hips again. Always tight. Maybe it's a like a judgmental tone. And the invitation here is to be curious about it. Just be curious about the experience of your hips. Oh, I feel this sensation. How interesting. I just pay attention to it, right? And then I do this breath and awareness sequence, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then this part might be edgy for some people who aren't used to moving. I turn on some music and move in a way that is informed by the hips. So what does it look like, rather than having my mind lead, which it has to do all day? What is it like to just experience what it's like to have my hips in the driver's seat for 10, 15 minutes, moving how they want to move to this music? And it's amazing. I mean, the types of patterns that people come up with in their body once they start really tuning in and listening. And that's what embodied cognition is. It's like, what is it like when your hips lead? Like when you see really good dancers with this incredible, it's almost surgical precision with a particular part of their body. That's just them tuning in and paying attention. It's all it is awareness and attention and non-judgment. And energy frees up. 15 minutes. suddenly like the tension that I'm feeling in my hips has loosened, has softened, and it's a new experience now. So it also is just like, oh, like it doesn't have to stay this way. You know, whenever I'm feeling a certain thing, it can change.
And rather than reach for, a drug or reach for the aspirin or reach for, it's like maybe your body is just saying, hey, take me out for a walk.
Yeah.
Take me dancing. You know how much I love to dance. I mean, take me out. Let's go ahead and loosen this up. And I think that's so important. And the last third piece that you said is no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are we judging? Why? I mean, things have already gotten to a point where if we don't start taking care of ourselves, I mean, we know what we need. And we don't start really listening in and saying, you know what, I'm going to show up. I'm going to take myself out there and I'm not going to have any judgment. And I'm just going to loosen up. I started doing that, Collin, and it was so fascinating because I'd feel this pain and it had metastasized. I wasn't a candidate for surgery. I haven't had to use chemo or radiation, but I wasn't a candidate for surgery because it had spread so many places. And so when the pain would come up on my back, I started doing what you said to do. And that is be aware of it, sit back, that's interesting. And all of a sudden, you know what happened? Went away.
Yeah.
Went away.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the beautiful thing about movement too is there's such a broad spectrum of movement, and people need different movements at different times. So sometimes it's more yin. So the yin yang balance, like yin is more kind of soft, slow movements that are more connected to stillness, really sort of soft flowing movements. And yang is like sometimes, especially men, like you just need to move a lot of energy with a lot of intensity. Like, what does it feel like to actually just push your body to the limit, to exhaustion, and then sit in stillness? And the stillness is just the expansiveness that you feel after you give your body this challenge is incredible. And another piece that I just want to say about this is like, another thing I've been teaching people is about how to embody more of an improvised attitude towards life. Because we come up in a school system where you are told what information is important. You take standardized tests. You go to this college, and this college is good because this reason. And people are so used to tuning in to authority and listening what's the right thing to do. And I'm not interested in teaching people the right movements. I'm not interested in teaching choreography. Like this is the way to dance in this perfect way. I'm interested in teaching people how to think and respond to the moment, and in a way that's emergent and creative and improvised. So what I'll do is I'll teach like some foundational building blocks of movement, pretty simple patterns, and then give them space to create new patterns based on those movements. So it's a great exercise to get out of your head and allow your body to find creative patterns. And then if you do that in the beginning of the day, you're priming your system to think more creatively. You're priming your system to not just be in a regimented, at this time I do this time I do this thing, this time. It's like you allow your system to think and feel in a more emergent, creative way. And that's what we need right now is more creative thinking.
Well, and you hear it all over the planet right now, is that's exactly what we need, is to really foster creativity. And it's interesting that you brought this up because, men have a hard time with this. You and I talked about this. I mean, my husband, he's extremely intuitive and sensitive, and shows his emotions, and that's very unusual. You're the same way. I mean, I think that's why you and Eric hit it off the way that you did, and he considers you somebody that he wants to bounce ideas off, because so many men have a hard time with feeling safe to express their feelings. And And you don't. And is that something that you created in the conversations with the people that you're closest to, or did you just, say,
Mm.
hey, this is how I'm going to show up? I mean, how did you get comfortable with showing up that way?
Mm. I mean, there's two main things. I think the first is the first is being raised by strong women, and just like having that model as something that's safe to do. But the other piece, which I think is really, really important for men, is to find a group of other men where there's a container to be able to do that. Um, because there aren't enough spaces now where men have men have their own space and women have their own space, and historically that's unprecedented. Like throughout time, there was always spaces for men to be together and women to be together, because there's something about connecting with other people who share the same body structure, the same sort of like cultural experiences, that you can't really understand what it's like unless you have that mirror. Um, so being in men's groups, I think, is so crucial, because there is like uh, there can be a danger, especially if you grow up with really strong women, since humans are mimetic, which is we mimic the people around us, especially the successful people, because we're like, oh, how do I be more like them? If if you're a boy growing up and you don't have male role models, you're going to mimic the next sort of successful being that you see. And it's great to mimic certain things that the women in your life are doing, but there's also something really important about what does it mean to be a strong man, a strong expressed man in my full masculine power, and having other men who are also asking that question and practicing together, I think, is critical.
And there's conversations that are going to take place. I mean, I know there's a few people that I want to make sure I introduce you to, and one of them is JB Crum the third, who put on Conscious Millionaire and a podcast, and he's been instrumental in helping me build my podcast, as
Mm,
well as I definitely love this connection of what you're doing and really reaching out. I know in the conversations you've had with Eric, my husband, and and Chase,
mhm,
I look at Chase. It's like, what, there's things that you can get in bringing in this camaraderie and fellowship, and it's in being okay to be vulnerable and cry and show
mhm,
emotion. I mean, our families have cried together, all
mhm,
of us, and it feels good to not be judged and to share this. But I think it's so critical. One of the questions I have for you is just, we're kind of coming up on the top of the hour, but how can I and this community, this wellness team family, which you're part of, you're
mm,
it's one family and we're together. But how can we support you? Because I
mm,
want you to do well. I think that your genius on this planet is so needed, Collin, and
mm,
I love what you're doing. So I want to be able to share with the world, what you're up to, and to drive access, to you and the gifts that you're sharing. But
mm,
talk to me about some of the things you need. And as we go through and really build this community up, we're supporting each other.
mm. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, I feel like right now it's just since I'm trying out so many new things, I would just love people who are interested in this type of stuff to get in touch with me, and just having more bodies, more people to play with and experiment with. Um, and this brand is Movement Warrior. I'm coming up near the time where I'm ready to launch. And so I think just once I do, having people that are interested in what I'm up to and that resonate with the message, just sharing it, and connecting with me and asking questions about it. And because what I really want it to be is something that is of use to people. I want it to be something that people find useful and that lights them up. And because what it really is just, I want to be of service. This is my way to do it.
Well, and what I love about this too, and starting to talk earlier, is that we see this movement truly of expressions of your genius and your essence. And it's no longer roles and titles. And, like you said earlier, you're limiting yourself if you had only looked at your mom as your mom and not her genius of what she brings to the table and helps so many. And that's what I feel like with you. It's this curiosity to really uncover and then also share why you're on the planet. And when we are in our essence, I mean, that's again, when we are of service, we're happiest as humans, when we're showing up in these earth suits, but our spiritual being is just really thriving. So I will go ahead and set you up, as your Auntie Shell, your mom's best friend. But I'm so excited about you sharing your gifts, because I think that you are absolutely tapping into energetically something that we absolutely need to have as part of our healing process.
Thank
How
you.
does someone get a hold of you?
So I sent my social media links to Lily. I'm on all the social media platforms right now, except for Facebook. I deleted that a couple years ago, but I'll be getting back on as I launch this brand. I feel like it's important. I've been so happy being off of Facebook, but now I just need to create a new relationship with it. It's like people are on Facebook. Why not? And I also sent a form for people to sign up for my newsletter. I think that's probably the best point right now to stay in contact.
Your target market is young men. Is it any age? Who would you say that you would like to hear from?
So I'm designing different programs for different types of people. So the most experience I have right now, and my biggest clientele right now, are executives. They're people that are really successful, but really disconnected from their bodies and are interested in figuring out how to harness that embodied power. I also have a lot of younger men too, who are interested in learning how to dance. So I'm designing a fundamentals of dance course right now. That's going to be not about choreography, but about how to build patterns for yourself. And I mean, that course is for everyone. I mean, learning how to dance it's our birthright. Movement is our birthright.
I danced all throughout the time I was with your family. I mean, I danced the whole time. For me, I think all the world's problems can be solved with a dance off.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're having a problem. We just need to have a dance off.
Yeah.
We have a dance-a-thon. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, historically, that's how that is how a lot of problems are solved. That's how like rituals were put into place. That's how communities celebrated together. It's just like, it's so important.
And how about your podcast? How can somebody find your podcast?
Oh yeah. So it's called Zion 2.0, and that's on all the podcast apps. Or you can go to the website, which is zionpod.me.
Say that again, because I love the name. You are rocking it with these names. I mean, talk about saying what you do. It's perfect.
So Zion 2.0 is, I used to joke that it's the brand of the podcast is figuring out the brand of the podcast. I just kind of followed my nose and was talking to people that I found interesting. And it's sort of become a podcast about the future, about change. And I have talked to a lot of people like Charles Eisenstein was on my podcast, who was like a big hero of mine in college. People like Jordan Hall and Daniel Schmachtenberger, who are these like really big change agents.
Michelle Patterson's going to be on there.
Michelle Patterson. Yeah, it's interesting. It's going through a bit of a rebrand, I guess, just because this new brand is coming out. But I kind of want to keep it separate and just keep having as many interesting people as possible and not have it so focused on movement.
Well, I am thrilled to go on this journey with you. We are going to end this with rocking it out to some music. It's going to be playing in the background, and let's have fun. I'm so excited to go on this path with you. It'll be fun. We're gonna have a good time.
Thanks, Michelle.
So thank you, and I will be talking to you very, very soon, and I'll make those introductions.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, yes.
I was never sure how much of you I could let in.